Hi everyone, this is Rainey, and today we're going to be canning some tuna. So if you had watched some of our previous videos, you'll have seen that we went to the Oregon coast and we were trying to fill our adventure cooler, and we did. We bought some tuna in Garibaldi out at the boat, directly from the boat. And you probably would have seen the prices before, but it was like $3.50 a pound for the whole fish. And they could break it down for, I think it was like $7 per fish. So we had them break it down because we just didn't have room for a whole fish in our cooler. And all said and done, we ended up with just over 15 pounds probably of tuna. We've ate some fresh, grilled. You probably saw some of that as well. And so I have about 10 to 11 pounds to can today. But it all, in the end, ended up being about $8.4 per pound once the fish was broke down. And if you were to buy that at just the seafood market there right next to the dock, they were charging like $13 per pound. So pretty good savings. We're going to probably be using most of our tuna for sandwiches, basically. And I went to the store because I was out on my half-pint wide mouth jars, which is what I'd like to can fish in. And they're completely out because everybody's probably doing the exact same thing I'm doing. The tuna is in, and that's like the perfect jars to put your fish in. But what I did find was quarter pint, and I kind of actually like that size, and I think I'm gonna go with the majority of the quarter pint, and then whatever I have left over I'll put into the half pint wide jars that I have. And I like those little jars just because, again, like if you've watched my previous video for salmon canning, I can stack them 3 high in my pressure canner. So that's like awesome. You get all the canning done basically all at once, one time. Don't have to take several hours doing a couple batches. So anyways, let's get started. Okay, so first things we need to do is cut up the tuna and prepare it for the brine. So when I'm cutting it up, I want to get it into the size that will fit into the jar. And so you can see this is the half pint wide mouth, which I've really enjoyed canning fish in, but they didn't have any. So this is the quarter pint. And this is actually probably closer to the size of, this portion you would get in a tuna can anyway. So it might be nice. They're definitely cute. Anyways, I'm going to it's about an inch of height here that you have in this one. And so that's how thick I'm going to have to cut the fish. So I'm going to try my hand at it first here. And we're just going to put it in. Kind of want to stand it up if you can. So that's a little too high, I think. You want to definitely give yourself a pretty good head space of an inch. Now, normally an inch of head space would be maybe about here, but in this jar, it's more like down in this area here. So let's try this. Yeah, still a little bit much. I'm used to these little half pints, so I'm just cutting it a tiny bit too thick here. See if we can get this quite right here. I don't want to be too rough on the fish because I don't want to bruise it. That's about right. So this is kind of a head space. This is where you can debubble. So you're gonna stick it down in here and kind of debubble. But this side gives you some headspace. So from here to the tip is 1 inch. So you want 1 inch headspace. I'm definitely, I don't know if I've got this set right. I'm definitely a little high. I'm like at, what is that, 3/4 inch. So I definitely need to bring it down. So I'm gonna keep on cutting this up, getting it just right for the jars. And then when you come back, I'll show you the brine that I'm gonna be putting this in for about an hour. And I'm also using the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, same one that I use for when I canned the salmon. Let me show it to you really quick. So this is the book I'm using. I'm using the fish recipe that's in it, which calls for a brine. Let's see, the last time I did salmon, we did do the brine and it turned out good. So, you know, why change the recipe? So anyways, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so in these 2 pitchers, I have all my cut up tuna, and I have it on a brine of 16 cups of water total with a cup of canning salt. And basically they're now gonna just sit in this brine in the fridge for 1 hour. I'll see you in an hour. Well, for you it'll be like that. All right, so the tuna is off the brine. I just poured it into some strainers. You're gonna let it strain for about 10 minutes. And now all we're gonna do is put them in jars. So let's take a look here. I may have to get a knife here. It actually looks pretty good. So I'm gonna check the headspace. You need 1 inch headspace. That is perfect. So I'm gonna keep adding the fish or the tuna into each of these jars. And then when I got it all in the jars, I'll come back and I'll show you what we're gonna do next. Okay, so I didn't even have near enough jars to can the amount of tuna I had. So this is a good learning lesson. I probably would need another 24 jars to even get this all done. So I had about 10 to 11 pounds of tuna here, and I've got 23 jars here. 12 of those are the 1/4 pint, and then, I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 as the 1/2 pint jars. So what I'm gonna do, because I don't have any jars anymore available unless I wanna put it in pint, and that's just way too much fish in a jar. So I'm gonna put the rest of the fish into the freezer, and that way when I get some more jars, I will then defrost and can it later. So let's go ahead and continue what we got going on here. So as you can see, I put all of the fish, or excuse me, tuna into the jars that I had available. And now this is vinegar. I'm just cleaning the rims really well here to get all the fat and debris off. This will help make a good seal. So you don't want anything in between the lid and the jar rim, or you're gonna have some that don't actually seal up. Now we don't have to put any liquid into this. As it cooks, the liquid will, you know, it'll just create its own liquid basically. And I'm just gonna keep doing this. When we get back, we'll get the lids on and then the rings, and then we'll get them into the pressure canner. Okay, so I've got the rims all cleaned off. I'm gonna put a lid on and then a ring. You wanna do it like finger tight. Now I should mention that I've already done the air bubble stuff, though, I mean, there's not really much you can do with fish. I think more so just kind of pushing it down like this helps to kind of get all the air bubbles out and make sure it's all the way at the bottom. But anyways, I've already done all that. So just gonna keep on putting the lid's on and rings, again, finger tight. And so basically I'm just using the very tips of my fingers, and then I'm not actually wrenching down, I'm just kind of going until it stops. Okay, I'll keep doing that and I'll bring you back when I start putting them into the pressure canner. Okay, so this is my Presto canner. I have a bottom in it. This keeps the jars up from touching the very bottom of the pan, so they're not on the direct heat. And I've got 3 quarts of water in there. Different canners ask for different amounts of water, so just be aware of that if you don't have a Presto canner. This is a 23 quart, and that's just how much it tells me that I need to put in for the water. So I'm going to keep loading this up. I have a second divider, so I can stack them, but you don't necessarily need to use that divider. I don't when I stack 3 because I've only got 2 of these, but I'll stack them on top of each other just so that they're not on the actual lids though, so you kind of counter set them in, so kind of something like this, right? So it's not sitting down on top of the lid but on the rim or ring. Let's see how many I can get in here. Okay, so I have them all in there. I've got kind of 3 layers. I only have 4 jars in the 3rd layer here. Now I need to put the lid on. So one thing you want to know about your lid here is you want to make sure your ring here is in good condition, or the seal. And then there's a vent hole here that you want to look through in direct light. It's right here, to make sure it's not plugged. Of course, you want to make sure that this is here. This is kind of the emergency blowout. So if you get your pressure too high, this will actually blow out. And then you have your kind of your lock thing here. So you just want to make sure everything's in good working condition. And then basically put it on. Figure out which way to get it on here. Okay, I have this backwards. Let's turn this around. I already have the temperature on high. Okay, so I have, I'll wait until we start seeing steam, steady steam coming up out of here, and then we'll let it vent for about 10 minutes. And then, let's see, we're gonna process for, let's see, 100 minutes at 11 pounds of pressure on the gauge here. All right, I'll bring you back when we're ready to start the processing time. Okay, so you can kind of see that steam coming up right here. It's pretty consistent, so I'm going to turn the timer on for 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. We're going to put the regulator on. This is what's going to help start building up the pressure in the canner. So when it gets to about 5, I'm going to start reducing the heat so we don't blow past the 11 pounds. Okay, so we've reached 11 pounds of pressure. I'm going to set the timer for 100 minutes. And you just don't want that to drop down below 11 pounds. It's okay to go above a little bit, but you do, you know, you do want to kind of lower your temperature down to try to keep it around 11, not blast it, you know, at 15 pounds. Now, the pressure that I'm using is good at my, I don't know, altitude or whatever it is. So it may not be the same pressure that you need to use where you live. So be sure to be looking at your pressure canner book, or you know, that goes with you know, the instructions that go with your pressure canner, to make sure that you know what pressure you should have yours set at. Okay, the 100 minutes is up. All I'm going to do right now is just turn the heat off, and we're going to let this sit on the burner until the gauge comes down to 0, and then when it's at 0, I'll take the regulator off, and then we'll let it sit for another 10 minutes after that before we take the lid off. Okay, so I want to show you that we're at 0 on the gauge, but that doesn't mean that it's okay to take the regulator off. The lock is still up here, and so we need to wait for this to actually drop before we take the regulator off. Okay, the lock is down, we're at 0. We're going to take the regulator off, and now we're going to put the timer on for 10 minutes. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and get the lid off. So I kind of wanted to explain why this is kind of a process of getting the heat off. Is you don't want to bring up the cans, or the jars I should say, too quickly to room temperature, or you're going to get some siphoning. Basically, liquid is going to just come up through the lid, and then a lot of times those won't seal because you'll get debris between the lid and the rim of the jar. So we're just trying to bring it up slowly, or down, I guess, the temperature down a lot slower here. Okay, hold it away from you so the steam goes up the back and not in your face. Okay, so now I'm gonna leave them all in here for probably another 10 minutes. You might actually even start hearing some pings. All right, let's start getting these jars out. I've been hearing them ping all over the place. Oh, that's not a good start to our video here. Okay. Looking good. So you can see the fish has produced its own juices. And I'm just going to keep putting these out here, and then these are going to sit overnight, and we'll check the seals and clean them up and put them up in the pantry. So far they look like they're all the ones I've pulled out are sealed anyways. Yeah, all these down here look sealed as well. Okay, well, that was a pretty successful tuna canning session, but like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna have to do this all over again to get to the rest. So I put all the rest of the fish in a freezer bag and put it in the freezer. All right, till the next time, see you guys.